We are thrilled to have you, and we're going to get started. We're officially going to get started now. So I wanted to say a few things as the session began to really talk about sort of our perspective here at DVU on the self-determination program. And I really just want to welcome all of you who are here. We've had over 1,350 people register for this conference, which is extraordinary. Never in our wildest imagination did we think that our next self-determination conference would be virtual. But here it is, and there's a lot that's been in this past year that has exceeded our imaginations. Yet through this difficult and dark year, particularly for people with disabilities, comes the light. Vaccines are here in record time, schools, work, and community activities are reopening, and the self-determination program is going statewide in June. I wish I was with you in person so I could hear the cheers in the audience that we've always had at our past conferences. The self-determination law passed a long time ago in 2013. And it promised to give people with intellectual and developmental disabilities greater control and flexibility over the services they receive, how they receive them, and who provides them. However, that early promise has yet to be realized. In the 8 years since passage of this groundbreaking law, implementation of the self-determination program has been subject to substantial delays and barriers to full participation. The initial phase-in period, allowing up to 2,500 participants to enter the program, did not begin until June 2018. As of February 2021, only 500 participants have actually transitioned in. For 8 years, I've had to defend the self-determination program. From people who tell self-advocates, "Aren't you happy with your life now?" to those who tell families, "This is too complicated, it takes too much time, it's really not for you." I always answer, self-determination is for everyone. There is support through independent facilitators and FMSs who you just met. Other participants and family members will be there for you. Don't let anyone discourage you. Let me give you a simple example of how the self-determination program is so much easier than the traditional system with just looking at how to get funding for this conference. For those attendees in the self-determination program, they simply put the amount in their spending plan and directed their FMS to pay the registration fee. Done. But for those in the traditional system, you had to ask permission from your regional center. While many wonderful regional centers approved it right away, others got rejected. They were told the self-determination program isn't even available to you yet. Or we provide that kind of training here at our regional center. But don't worry, we got scholarships for those folks. But even those who got approved had to ensure that their regional center sent some kind of authorization by a certain date, and some couldn't reach their service coordinator to see if they had been approved. And right there, you spent tons of time on something so simple that only costs $50. But I do admit that the way the self-determination program has been implemented makes it seem too hard. It's actually seemed to me unnecessarily and often intentionally hard. We know it doesn't have to be that way. There are regional centers that are moving participants in much more quickly, and we need to understand what those centers are doing that the others aren't. I have spoken to thousands of people about the SDP, and there are consistent themes about what is working and what isn't. The self-determination program is successful when a participant has an authentic person-centered plan. They hire an experienced and committed independent facilitator to help them, and they include only the people they trust in the process. They have a PCP meeting that is a party with a purpose, as Sally Burton Hoyle calls it, that is focused on their strengths, hopes, and dreams. They think about what is possible, not what's available. But the SDP isn't working if there is no person-centered plan, or if a regional center says that the IPP meeting is the same thing as a person-centered plan. Or a parent who says My child doesn't need a PCP because I know everything he wants and needs. It's also not working if the PCP meeting focuses on behaviors or the person's weight or all the things that need to be fixed. Other ways you can tell whether the SDP is working or not is whether the person is able to address the needs that were unmet in the traditional system. We know there are many people served by regional centers that are actually profoundly unserved. And we have known for years that people of color are the most underserved. But if a Latino, who on average receives about half the amount of services as whites in the traditional system, and budgets are based on your previous expenses, how in the world do we get rid of disparities in the SDP? Disparities and unmet need can be eradicated in the self-determination program, but it requires significant advocacy by the person and their families and the help of a strong independent facilitator. It also takes a commitment by the regional center to come to the table and acknowledge that unmet need exists. We have seen this happen all over the state and are excited about the potential. But the self-determination program isn't working when an underserved person doesn't even know about the SDP or are told it's not worth it because your budget's too low. The SDP can't work if a regional center doesn't recognize that a person or family can be in crisis and still not know how to ask for help. Recently, I am finding that the most important way for the self-determination program or SDP to succeed is if a participant's spending plan is truly controlled by the participant. This means that the participant is choosing who they want to spend time with and what they do every day, as long as they stay within their budget. And if they change their mind over the course of the year, as human beings tend to do, their ability to change their spending plan should require just a simple email to their FMS. But what we are seeing is that spending plans are fast becoming the point of greatest conflict between participants and regional centers. To be clear, there is nothing in the self-determination law or any DDS directive that says regional centers must approve a spending plan. While some regional centers are behaving that way, it is not the law. In fact, if all of the services and items in the spending plan meet the requirements, it should just be attached to the IPP and you're done. Unfortunately, we are hearing of too many stories of regional centers micromanaging every aspect of participant spending plans. They say you must spend money on X because you had X in the traditional system. Not true. Or they say you can't spend money on Y because Y isn't available in the traditional system. Also not true. Or sometimes the regional center doesn't respond for months and the participant can't even move forward. Finally, I'd say that the self-determination program is working if there are local advisory committees at every regional center providing effective oversight. This means committee members who believe in the self-determination program working as a team to listen to and help train their community in collaboration with the regional center staff who do not try to control their activities or their actions. But the local advisory committees are not working at many regional centers. Many of the committee's meetings are overly bureaucratic and uninviting. Some get too much involvement of regional center staff who speak too much and make all the decisions. Some committees get too little involvement, where the staff never show up at meetings and are completely unsupportive. With all of these issues, no wonder so few people have moved into the self-determination program. We know where the problems lie and how to fix them. The statewide Self-Determination Advisory Committee, made up of the chairs of the 21 local committees, issued a report last year detailing the barriers to participation in the SDP and recommendations to eliminate them. The document was distributed around the state, and yet most of the proposals have been ignored. So what can we do about it? It's not like there isn't accountability over the self-determination program. We have DDS and all of those advisory committees. But maybe that's not enough. That's why I am excited to announce today that Disability Voices United and Disability Rights California are co-sponsoring Senate Bill 518 to provide accountability and improve the SDP. The legislation creates the Office of the Ombudsperson for the Self-Determination Program, which will have staff ready to hear your concerns and solve your problems. They will be an independent voice and have the power to investigate complaints and identify systemic barriers. Later this morning, you will hear from the bill's author, Senator John Laird, who will tell you more about the legislation. The bill will be heard next week on April 20th, and we hope all of you will join in the hearing and tell the senators how important it is to make sure the self-determination program actually works for all of us. For the next 3 days, we will learn together, self-advocates, family members, and professionals. Our program has so many options for each of you. And yes, every session will be recorded and made available to you about a week after the conference. Each day we will come together as the full conference and listen to amazing speakers and panels. Each day will also bring breakout sessions on every conceivable topic, broken down into 3 tracks: beginner, intermediate, and advanced. You are welcome to go to any of the sessions, but the advanced breakouts may not explain the terms you will need to understand. We also hope you take advantage of our expo and speak with our great exhibitors, as well as go to the meetup sessions today and tomorrow, which are going to be really fun. I wanted to take a moment to thank Disability Voices United's incredible staff and board who made this conference possible. Specifically, Mackenzie Bath, our conference coordinator, who has worked tirelessly to get the conference site working, send out those swag bag packages, and field hundreds of emails and phone calls, even right now. I want to thank Ed Herzl, our master of Zoom, who will be managing all of these huge activities, as well as the expo and meetups. And our intern, Christina Rizzo, who helped recruit our volunteers and did so much more for the conference. And I also want to thank DVU's board of directors and the rest of our staff, all self-advocates and family members. Each and every one of them have taught me so much. They are my family and I love you. I finally want to thank my actual family, my dedicated husband, Alan, who supports my addiction to overcommitting to volunteer activities, my incredible daughter, Emma, whom I've recruited to work on this conference, even though she's in the middle of college finals in New York, and my son, Joshua, who is the reason for all that I do in the disability community. I want to dedicate this conference to justice for Isaias Cervantes. Isaias and his family had been hoping for self-determination and had been learning about how to begin the program in June. But 2 weeks ago, Isaias was ruthlessly shot in the back in his own living room by 2 LA County Sheriff's deputies. Isaias is currently in the ICU and will likely never be able to walk again. His dreams are now different, but we hope that the self-determination program will one day return to his life. We send love and prayers to Isaias and his family and thank the many people in the community who have been fighting for them. Now I want to thank all of you for joining us for the next 3 days. We look forward to the day very soon that all of you will be part of the self-determination program. It is up to us, self-advocates and family members, to fix it. We have to advocate for the roadblocks to be torn down. We have to show others that self-determination is not just an alternative way to receive services, but it is a basic human right. So now on to the rest of the conference.